is Friday, and you know what that means.
Yeah!
Welcome, everyone, to episode 376 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is, and always will be.
I am the Brainless one. And you know what? I'm sorry. Now, I know this wasn't a terribly, very newsworthy week here in professional wrestling. We did have the Bad Blood pay-per-view from last week. I really want to have a discussion about that because I have many opinions about that premium live event last week. We also had somebody return during Bad Blood and what that could potentially mean for future WWE going forward.
Yes.
But one thing that we would like to discuss first is that there is rumors going around, and usually when rumors like this are going around, that means it's usually just pen to paper.
Yeah.
But it looks like WWE is on the verge of re-signing one of their mainstays in the women's division. Cousin Jay, let them know.
Rhea Ripley, basically WWE and Rhea have agreed to terms on a new deal, and it sounds like it's going to be a 5-year contract, and she is getting a significant raise. Certainly, she's earned a significant raise. She is the top woman wrestler in the world.
I can't argue that.
Top superstar.
Superstar.
In the women's division. She deserves what she's going to get paid. No doubt about it. And if Tony Khan had his way, he'd probably pay her $14,999,999 just so he could avoid some problems in the locker room. But Rhea is staying put in WWE, and I think it's a great re-signing, and it just, one, shows the faith they have in Rhea continuing to develop and be a mainstay on the roster. I mean, she's in her 20s. She's in her mid-20s, and you could build around her for the next decade.
She actually turned 28 today.
Oh, she's officially in the upper echelon of the 20s. So.
The important thing with that, though, is like you said, she is in her late 20s. She's on the right side of 30. And they can use her for the next decade and a half. Because, like you said, she is the top women's wrestler in the world. It's incredible to see that where she's come from, like her NXT UK days, to when she made the transition to the States and worked in NXT, to her making it up to the main roster the way that she did. And it just seemed like, she seemed like more of a threat and more of an imposing figure when she was down in NXT. And then obviously you get called up to Vince McMahon's main roster, and it's like you kind of get forgotten. And then it was like, what are they going to do with her? And then they put her with the Spooky Pals. And for the longest time, we kind of just like, we ragged on it because it's like, wow, Rhea, you're in the Spooky Pals. You're not even in like the Hurt Business, or you're not even in like the Blood. You're in the Spooky Pals.
And when they first started, though, we did have the discussion. It's like, this thing isn't to get Finn Balor, or this isn't like, this is to get Rhea over as a new superstar, because you had Adam Edge and you had Damian Priest. And it's like, all right, Damian Priest is almost 40. Edge is almost 50. Who are they trying to make a star here? The person that they needed to make a star became a star.
Yes, agreed.
And there were so many cogs in that wheel that made it happen. The catalyst, though, was Dirty Dom. For the whole thing. Dirty Dom.
One-time F&, Marks Marquee Award winner for Worst Wrestler of the Year, and is probably going to get a serious amount of consideration for Heel of the Year here this year. Although it might be going to Drew, it might be still going to Christian Cage for a second straight year, who knows. But you're right. And honestly, they gave her the ball and she ran with it. I think they realized it, and that's probably part of the reason why they cut Edge from the Spooky Pals, because they were like, we got to get her over because she could benefit more from getting over with this faction than it would for Edge. Because at this point, what else can Edge do? Can he get any more over than Edge was over returning from like a career-threatening injury?
I mean, right now he's attempting to do that by basically helping to make things better in the Asheville, North Carolina section, near where he lives, by physically being like there and doing stuff our government is not.
As a
Even
former
though
government,
he's Canadian, he's Canadian.
As somebody who is a former government contractor, I'm shocked. The government, let me tell you real quick, the government ain't worth shit. I have never met a lazier bunch of people in my entire life, a more useless bunch of people in my entire life than government employees. I said it, I meant it, and I'd say it again unless Hillary Clinton was sitting behind me with a gun pointing to my head. She's not there.
Good.
But again, this was a great signing for WWE. They got her locked up for 5 years. And it's funny too, because like, remember when she first got to NXT UK? Do you remember who they were talking about and touting to be like her big rival going forward? When they started out in NXT UK, and then they both made Rhea made the jump to NXT, and then her counterpart made the jump to NXT, and then they both made it to the main roster. Do you remember who it was?
Well, I mean, I remember at the very beginning it was Toni Storm. Hey, you know what? Toni Storm has carved out a niche for herself. I enjoy the timeless Toni Storm gimmick. I really do. And she needed to be able to fly away from Vince to make it happen. I don't know if that would have gotten over, as much in WWE. I think it might have. But yeah, I remember like we were all kind of like, who's this Rhea Ripley? Like, Toni Storm's supposed to be the one that wins. But, they were right. Triple H was right.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you with Toni Storm. I think she's doing an excellent job as timeless Toni Storm. She's one of the very few bright spots that AEW has, especially in a very stagnant women's division that AEW has. But I just thought it was funny because, like, at that time, it really did look like they were going to build towards Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm kind of being like the two people that were going to be going head to head as like the new face of the women's division in WWE, because they were both on the right side of 30. At that time, they were both in their early 20s, and they were doing the things that they were doing. And now here we are, and it's like Toni Storm. I will argue Toni Storm is probably the best women's performer in AEW. As I would also say that Rhea Ripley is the best women's performer in WWE. And I really do think that's more of a compliment to Rhea Ripley. Nothing against Toni Storm. Again, she's a great wrestler, and she finally found a nice character, like you said, outside of Vince's realm. Rhea Ripley's in there with like Bianca Belair. She's in there with Bayley. She's in there with like Chelsea Green. She's been there with Becky, Charlotte,
Liv Morgan.
She's been in there with some of the best in the women's division, because WWE has a great women's division. So I applaud WWE for giving her this contract, because it's well deserved, including the pay raise that she's going to get, because she definitely deserves it. I applaud, Rhea Ripley for the fact that she went from kind of being in the shuffle a couple years ago to being the face of the division in WWE. And this is just great for both sides, and I'm happy for everybody involved.
Yep. So many happy returns, Rhea Ripley. Buddy will be able to live off your paychecks. I'm
Although
joking.
he just got
Buddy is a fine professional wrestler and would be getting along fine on his own. But
fun
they
fact
can
about
now upgrade things.
fun fact: Buddy Murphy did wrestle at the NXT show we went to at the Ted Constance Center.
Yeah,
where all the fans were harassing him about where Alexa Bliss was.
right. Hey, they
Yeah,
actually ended on good terms because, like, didn't they share a dog and like they kept in touch with that? So
I think so. I think you're right.
yeah,
But I mean, they're both happy now. He gets Rhea Ripley, and she's dating some guy named Ryan Cabrera, or she's married to some guy named Ryan Cabrera, whoever that is.
right.
Still have no ideas.
Yeah. So. So in the chat, Jessica had sent me a Facebook message, and it's talking about somebody who made an appearance at Bad Blood at the very last moment, but there has been some reports out there saying the final boss will not be at WrestleMania 41. Now, those reports are coming from Dave Meltzer. So, I'll just put in my 2 cents. They're like, oh no, he's not going to be at WrestleMania 41. I would say we'll see. With all the stuff they did last year to build up for WrestleMania, when Rock realized, okay, this isn't going to be a one WrestleMania thing, or this isn't going to be, oh, I'm back for one match and I'm back gone forever. He realized, oh, I've got a couple of matches that I have to do. I would think at that time, he did not have his schedule super full into this year or next year coming up. Like, all right, yeah, I think I'm going to do WrestleMania again. Because guess what? One of the things that Triple H said in the Bad Blood press conference, it's like, as you get older, the times that you can actually get out there and perform well are getting fewer and fewer. At some point, your body's going to stop. Rock knows that. He looked really good. He got himself in super, like you weren't like looking at him and going, it's sad seeing The Rock in the ring. No, he looked good at WrestleMania. He wouldn't come out and tease something just to have no payoff. Could it happen earlier? Like, do we see him with the Bloodline and do a War Games match? I think we could. I don't think he would sit there and go to the Royal Rumble to not go to WrestleMania. But he specifically showed up when Cody and Roman were in the ring together. Those are the stories. That and the Bloodline. I don't believe that he won't be there. I think it's a ruse. I'm just saying.
This looks like with like The Rock and Roman, there's a very good possibility, especially after the huge announcement that Triple H made during Bad Blood about a certain specific premium live event that's going to be occurring very soon. We'll get into that once we talk about Bad Blood.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't rule it out of the realm of possibilities that Dwayne and Joe wrestle in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, that would be a money thing, and I don't think The Rock needs a dime. Like that, like at this stage, it's like, I'm sure he's like commands a fine salary. I know for like WrestleMania last year, I think with stock options and all that stuff, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40 million for all that. They could dump $5 million, $10 million at Rock's feet. He doesn't need it. I don't think that's his motivation. I don't think that would move him necessarily to be like, yeah, I'm going to put in the time and I'm going to get ready to wrestle on the show. It'll look like a spectacle, but it is not WrestleMania. And on top of that, it's like as much as they could do a triple threat with Cody, and Roman, like he really needs to have a singles match with Roman.
He needs a singles match with both of them.
He could have a singles match with Cody too. If he wants to have a singles match with Cody at SummerSlam next year, awesome. Like if he wants to, he could have a singles match with Cody at the Royal Rumble if he wants to. Does he go in, win the championship from Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, and then he faces Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? I don't know.
No.
There are a lot of things like that could be in play.
No.
And there's so Chris Brown in chat saying it's saying Rock won't wrestle at WrestleMania. I still don't believe the reports from Meltzer. I think Rock will be wrestling. Call me crazy.
I was thinking of all the things that they could do if they weren't going to have The Rock at WrestleMania next year. And the first thought I had was, okay, they could definitely do Roman versus The Rock in Saudi Arabia because, like we found out at Bad Blood, I might as well just mention it now because it has everything to do with what we're talking about anyway. At Bad Blood, Triple H announced that they were going to be crowning a champion for Saudi Arabia for the men's and women's. And I was trying to think of all the jokes I could think of all the different names I can call this champion. As World Sand Weight Champion was the first thing I thought of. Or the Sand Heavyweight Champion. I don't know. But the winners, or the matchup was going to be determined between the WWE Women's Champion and the WWE Women's World Champion, and then the Men's World Heavyweight Champion versus the Men's WWE Champion.
Right.
So obviously, unless something happened with Sami Zayn and Gunther on Monday, all signs were pointing to Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. And then whatever happened with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley at Bad Blood, and whatever happened with Nia Jax and Bayley. I have no idea what happened with Nia Jax and Bayley. I accidentally turned off the premium live event right after the first match because I had a gut feeling. I didn't know how the card was going, but I had a gut feeling that I needed to turn off the show right after the Hell in a Cell because I had a feeling that they were going to do something that was going to upset me. So I have no idea what happened in the Nia Jax versus Bayley match. I can only assume that because I haven't heard any horrible things on Twitter that Bayley has survived the match, at least. I don't know if she's champion or not, but there has not been any rip to Bayley tweets at all.
I think this will help let you know who won. Liv is going to need a spatula wrestling at Crown Jewel.
I'm sorry, Jay. They really should have done Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous. They did Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax, and it was awful. And Liv Morgan's smaller than Alexa Bliss.
Right.
Liv Morgan is not even half the wrestler that Alexa Bliss is. This is not a slight on Liv Morgan. I actually like Liv Morgan as a performer. Alexa Bliss is better. And Nia Jax is just drizzle shits. I'm trying to be nice. I can't even think of a nice way to put it, Cousin Jay.
I mean, I think this will help you. Donnie Brown Snows in chat says, Super Kick Party! Yeah!
So,
yeah!
So with the
Nicholas
fact that
and Matthew.
Oh God. That's what they do, idiots. Biggest, I don't even know how Vince Russo was the only shit stain in professional wrestling. We all know that Nick and Matt Jackson are absolute shit stains as well. I mean, they have shit stains in their freaking drawers after every match anyway because they shit themselves when they hit 847 fucking super kicks in one fucking match and then try to set their opponent on fire or use exploding sneakers or use a cinder block or an unprotected chair or just slam their head in a fucking cage. I don't know what the hell those idiots do. I don't watch that shit.
Yeah.
The best part about the last 14 months of my life is I have not watched more than 5 seconds of AEW broadcasting. I put it on for 5 seconds and I said, this is why I stopped, and I turned the channel. I don't remember what the hell it was, and it wasn't even QT Marshall.
Right.
But WWE right now is doing the WWE champion versus the world heavyweight champion for this ugly, disgusting, stupid-looking Saudi Arabian championship belt they have. I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea that they're going to do a champion versus champion thing, albeit that it is in freaking Saudi Arabia. I love the fact that we're going to be getting, spoiler alert, we're getting Gunther versus Cody Rhodes at the Saudi show. Yes, I know that I don't support this show, but yes, I will watch Gunther versus Cody Rhodes just because it's Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. And like I can overlook that. Everything else I'm not going to tune into. I know you're going to be like CM Punk, and neither one of you is going to have anything to do with this show, and it's justifiable. I understand. But just the wrestling fan in me, I need to see that match. And because of the fact that that match is already booked, just like the women's match is already booked, that leaves Roman Reigns open in Saudi Arabia. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Roman Reigns has to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, but it gives him an open opportunity to wrestle. And I know that you said that The Rock has a shit ton of money. We're not talking about the money that WWE is going to throw at him. No. We're talking about the money that the Saudi prince is going to be throwing that can throw at The Rock. You're telling me the man who was begging and hoping that Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and Yokozuna were all going to be at the greatest Royal Rumble ever a bajillion years ago when Titus O'Neil went diving under the ring and everybody laughed for years. The guy who wanted Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior at the Saudi show for the greatest Royal Rumble, the guy who made us have to subject ourselves to watching Shawn Michaels have the worst match of his career and yet be the best performer in the match when he teamed up with Triple H versus the Brothers of Destruction in a match that should have happened 14 years ago. You're telling me that man has an opportunity to bring The Rock to Saudi Arabia, that he's not going to just dump any amount of money, like whatever it is, Dwayne, you tell me. I just want you at my show. Here's $100 million. I'm not saying that that's like it's going to happen, like he's going to offer him $100 million, but we're talking about an unhinged man here. We're talking about a man.
You know what I think might get The Rock to actually agree is if he got the Saudi Crown Prince to fund the UFL for the next 5 years.
I mean, we already don't watch it as it is, so I mean, what difference does it make if the Saudis fund it?
I'm just saying.
Well, I can think of other reasons, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
He's going to ask, The Rock's going to ask him to make him a championship so he can come out with 2 belts at the Saudi show.
Right.
Why is he still holding that stupid belt? I mean, seriously, why?
I don't know.
It wasn't even funny when he did it at WrestleMania. Now it's even dumber now that he still has that stupid belt and it's not hanging somewhere in his, I'm sure, multi-million-dollar house somewhere in the middle of California or Florida or wherever the hell The Rock lives. Wait, he's in Virginia. That's right, he's in Virginia.
Yeah. I think he's got a couple of houses, but he's got one in Virginia and I think he's got one in Hawaii.
Is it Shenandoah or around that area?
He lives near Cousin Colin.
That's right.
So
Cousin Colin with the moonshine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Steve Chambers in chat said that he believed for him the Bloodline storyline is dragging a bit right now. I agree because the central protagonist of it has not been on TV very much lately. He has been making sure his hair is wet enough to secure yet another Marquee Award.
Time out. You mentioned it. Now I have to talk about this. When they did the introductions for the main event at Bad Blood, I'm not even going to get into the result. I'm just going to talk about the introductions. And they did them. And they had all 4 guys, Cody, Roman, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sikoa. And they showed Roman, and he did the thing where he he moved his head back and all like it was just like a tidal wave of freaking water just poured from his hair. Jacob Fatu shook his head and more water came out. I think we now have a legitimate threat of somebody ending Roman Reigns' 8-year run as wettest hair, and it may be going to his cousin Jacob Fatu, which would be the greatest upset in Marquee Award history. But if I'm not mistaken, I have sent the footage to the Marquee Awards award panel, and they're going to determine whether or not Jacob Fatu is actually a legitimate contender to Roman Reigns for wettest hair. Okay. But on the whole thing with the bloodline, I think it's just a little stale. I don't know if it just be a little stagnant. I think people are waiting to see what happens between Solo Sikoa and Jacob, really. Because I honestly feel like that's what they're kind of building to at some point, because they have something. They need to have that money match with Solo and Roman, because that's another match that they have for Roman that they could build up for. I mean, if he doesn't fight The Rock like Uncle Dave says at WrestleMania, that leaves, if they want to drag it out, Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns in that one-on-one match.
And another very big cog that we have not seen in a while is the Wise Man. Where does he play into all of this? Or is he off to other different pastures?
What if the Wise Man turns on Roman Reigns? I don't even know what I would say to that, because I don't know if the Wise Man could actually turn on Roman Reigns. But again, it is.
I think it would be no different than when the Wise Man turned on Brock Lesnar and sided with the Big Show.
I think that happened when I took my hiatus.
Probably.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, it's possible just because of the fact that it's Paul Heyman. So anything's possible. KJ
Hondo.
But I really think that with the bloodline, they really need to do something with this whole Solo and Roman thing. They need to stop doing this like the tag team match here. Solo really should not be getting any more title shots. I'm sorry. I don't care how weak your heels are on the SmackDown show with your American Nightmare champion. It's not Solo. He's not there yet. He's not his cousin who's been there for a cup of coffee and a piece of pie. He's not even Tama Tonga. I would feel a lot better about Tama Tonga being in the title match over Solo Sikoa again. And we're not going to talk about
over Tonga Loa though, right?
Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in the power rankings of the bloodline, Solo Sikoa is third. It's Jacob Fatu. Then a little below him is, Tama Tonga. Then down here is where Solo Sikoa is. And then if you dig about 20 feet into the ground is where Tonga Loa is. The guy who actually stood on the very tippy top of the ladder to retrieve the championships, where they actually had to hold the ladder so the dumb fuck couldn't fall off of the damn thing.
He did it.
He is the fifth best. He's the fifth best member of a 4-man faction, Cousin Jay. The Ring Post is a better member of the bloodline than Tonga Loa is. And the beautiful thing is, we also got the return of Jimmy Uso on Saturday. Are you kidding me? I jumped off the couch. I was so happy to see main event Jim Uso. This is great. They're definitely building games. Please, just inject it into my veins. I need war games. I need the Bloodlines rules war games match. And honestly, I really do think to, tying it back in together with what we were talking about with The Rock. They showed a clip of The Rock. They had that WWE exclusive after Bad Blood, and The Rock was walking out of the arena. And who happened to be the two people on the freaking tractor trailers that were parked, coincidentally across from each other? One of them had the Hall of Fame, the legend, the son of a plumber, American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And The Rock even said it, Dusty, I love you. You're my hero. but I hate your fucking son. And then he turned to the other one, and it happened to be, I don't know,
The blank.
but he yelled Fruity Pebbles at it and then went into his trailer. I watched that clip 15 times just for the Fruity Pebbles comment because it's just funny as shit. Because that was the best part about that whole Miz and John Cena and The Rock build up for 27, 28, and 29. Just the Fruity Pebbles line was, I still cackle over that years later. But
I really do think because of the fact that they
the dream there. Yes, I know that it had, Dusty is Cody's dad, so you can kind of have that thing. John Cena being there, that's just funny as hell. But it wouldn't surprise me if people are like, okay, he did what he said to Dusty Rhodes, you're my hero and everything. Dusty invented games.
He did.
I really, truly feel in the bottom of my heart we're going to see The Rock in War Games.
And I think it might have been Chris Brown messaged me saying, could we see The Rock challenging for a title on the first Raw on Netflix?
I think we have a better chance of seeing John Cena challenge for a title on the first night on Netflix. I wouldn't be, I mean, if Braun Breaker was Intercontinental Champion right now, instead of Captain Yeet, I would say that we would be getting Breaker versus John Cena on the first night of Raw on Netflix. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they had John Cena win the elusive Intercontinental Championship so that he could drop the Intercontinental title to Sheamus at WrestleMania. So that I could finally have my, so my story can
mark out moment of the year.
My mark out moment of the year, and my story would finally end because Sheamus would be an I forget what it is, Ultimate Supreme Triple
Grand Slam champion, the greatest Grand Slam champion of all.
The greatest Grand Slam champion, the GOAT of Grand Slam champions.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But I would it surprise me if they did a title change? I wouldn't surprise me if they did a title change on the first Raw on Netflix.
Usually, it's unfortunate, but when they have kind of that novelty title change, it generally ends up being one of the women's titles or the tag titles. All the time. Almost all the time. Occasionally, we get Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston on the first Fox SmackDown. Occasionally. But for the most part, when they go to England and they have Raw in London, tag titles or women's title changes hands.
I will say this.
Because they just did
Steve's first show last week on the CW. And they were booking both the women's
match and the match.
And obviously,
we're going to change the title. Expecting it to be Julia taking
from Roxanne. And they swapped. And we got whooped that trick as a two-time NXT
champion after he beat
Paige. So, is it out of the realm of possibilities? No, I don't. The Rock, though, I mean, crazier things have happened. That's the best way I can put that. If
he was going to lose it 2 weeks later at the Rumble, or 3 weeks later at the Rumble.
Oh, have a Bob Backlund-esque type of run, huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bob Backlund.
Mr. Bob Backlund.
I have his autograph.
Good. Was that when he was running for Congress?
Yes, I think it was.
Or for when he was running for president?
Yeah. Yes.
Great.
Look, you have to recite all the presidents to get it either, though.
Oh, right. Mr. Bob.
The man who had his
WrestleMania 11 ruined by Roddy Piper. Phones.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah. I know we dived into some of Bad Blood here. Do we want to talk about the real blood that happened in that first match?
Do you want to just talk about Bad Blood and just get into the Hell in a Cell match and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre having their blood feud end in a bloody mess at Bad Blood? I would love
where
nothing.
The first Hell in a Cell match took place 27 years before.
On the exact date, too. It was on the 27th anniversary of that first Bad Blood where we got Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, where we got, that's gotta be Kane. And I'm going to say my fairest assessment about the whole Premium Live event, and then we can get into that match, it was like watching the Dallas Cowboys play football. Because at the beginning of the show, it was nothing short of remarkable.
I like Dak, man.
And then there was this whole big... Actually, no, it was kind of more like the Red Sox, if I had to say anything. It's more like the Red Sox, where they started off strong, and then it just kind of sucked for like 60% of it. And then the end of it was like, meh. That sounds like the 2024 Red Sox. But man, that Hell in a Cell match was awesome. I was fully tuned in. That was just beautifully. They booked that so perfectly. They beat the hell out of each other.
It's about time that we had a cage match where we saw stuff like this. Like, it ain't ballet, and stuff happens. Chris Brown in the chat saying there was one point where officials were going to pause the match and like wipe the blood away from Drew's face and make sure that he was okay. And he waved them off. That's what Chris was saying in the chat. Said, nah, I'm finishing the damn match. It was epic. It's everything a Hell in a Cell match needs to be and should be. Now it's like the unprotected headshot to Drew. Like, yeah, it's not quite the same as the chair. I don't think Punk like wielded it like as strong as, let's say, what happened with Hangman and Swerve. But even so, Drew gets busted open. 16, count them, 16 staples to close the wound. The visuals were great. The ring looked disgusting. They clearly had to take up the mat after that. But that's what that match should be. That's what that match needs to be. And it was everything. Like, there aren't many cell matches that could rival that. Quite honestly, in my brain, I'm like going, okay, it's really hard to say much of anything would rival what happened with Cody and Seth.
Agreed.
Really hard, just because of the visual with Cody's arm and what they were able to pull off with a guy with 1.5 arms.
Right.
You know, like, you have that. And even before or after that, we had Seth and Edge, who had a heck of a Hell in a Cell match in Saudi Arabia. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw bits of it, and I'm like, all right, respect to them for that. Much better than that fiasco 5 years ago with Seth and The Fiend. But like, we kept on having these cell matches where like, you're in a cage with fencing and you're going against somebody that you really want to destroy and nobody ends up bloodied. I was glad to see the color. Awesome match. Definitely match of the night. And like, as much as they tried to use some of the returning superstars to prop up some of the other stuff, nothing compared to that. And good. I follow that.
Honestly, the Hell in a Cell match on Saturday for me is in a discussion with, like you said, Cody versus Seth in that Hell in a Cell match I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Shawn and Undertaker.
Shawn and Undertaker at the very first one. Very first one. That was an excellent match. Undertaker and Mankind.
Technically not a great match, but like is just so like.
Yeah. It's an incredible moment that people talk about.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were when the Undertaker threw Mankind off of the Hell in a Cell? And honestly, like the Hell in a Cell match with the Undertaker and Triple H, I think it was the second match from their back-to-back wrestling. I think it was 28 where they had that. That match was awesome too.
And Undertaker against Edge at SummerSlam. I think it was like 2010, maybe.
No,
that was a solid match too.
Oh, that was a solid match. I can tell you it's not 2010 because we unfortunately know that Edge was part of that miscarriage of justice that occurred in the main event.
Yes. Maybe I think it was 2009.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, but yeah, that was another excellent Hell in a Cell match. But like they've had so many of them. The fact that the one that we witnessed on Saturdays talked about, in my opinion, in your opinion, was some of the best Hell in a Cell matches. Jay, that was the match of the year for me. Not only the match of the night, that's match of the year. I know it's a little bit of a homerish call because, yes, I'm a huge CM Punk fan, but him and Drew killed it. They both had an epic match. They literally beat the shit out of each other. They both got bloodied. They brought in all this stuff. My favorite part of the match was when Drew pulled out the bag and everybody was expecting the thumbtacks. And he dragged it out and he dragged it out. And I'm like, oh God, are they really doing the thumbtacks? Thinking it was the thumbtacks. That was it. That killed the match for me. And then he dumped it and it was all the freaking beads from the freaking bracelet. I died. I was like, this is fantastic.
And that's storytelling. And that is the A1 troll material that Drew has been pulling out ever since the Royal Rumble. And if you want to go back even further, you could say this all started last year at Survivor Series.
Yeah. Because, yes, Seth was very animated. Yeah. Seth was very animated when he saw Pepsi Phil return the Survivor Series last year. But Drew made it perfectly clear he wasn't very happy. And he has come out in interviews and said, I wasn't happy when he was there. He goes, but I get it from a business standpoint. Because it's about making money, Tony Khan. It's about making money in professional wrestling. Not becoming BFFs and sending Christmas cards and cocaine to your wrestlers. You need to be more Vince McMahon and less Herb Abrams.
Beside the, getting killers off and, being a sexual deviant.
And killing all the territories.
Well, the territories were going to die on their own. Vince just sped up that process. But allegedly, with this new deal the AEW has, they're actually going to make a good chunk of money starting next year. So good for them.
Curiosity has the better of me. I just need to know, with this new deal that they signed with WB, did WB also extend reruns of The Big Bang Theory to be played directly before Dynamite so that at least the pillars of AEW, Sheldon, Raj, Leonard, and Wallowitz, can still continue on as the pillars of AEW? Or did they not get the royalties that they were looking for, and they're going to jump to USA? And there you go. They can make the jump to USA Network, and they can play them instead of Law and Order SVU before Monday Night Raw. They can have reruns of The Big Bang Theory, and then instead of that, they can put whatever so that AEW fans can have another excuse when that early number isn't as high as it is. By the way, yeah, congratulations on the new deal, Tony. And then you did 339,000 views, or your rating was 339,000 people this week on Dynamite.
Hey. Let's be fair. They were going on a night that they don't normally go on. I'm not trying to take like Dave Meltzer excuses, but when you're used to watching on Wednesday, somebody like me in the TV industry understands that when you change the night, and it's like a rarity, most of your audience doesn't remember. They just don't remember. You can tell them 5 times Saturday and 5 times every day of the week, and they still don't remember. Yeah, they got their butts kicked by NXT, but this was not like a couple years ago when NXT was going against Dynamite, and they planned to go against each other, and Dynamite won. This week, it's an anomaly. Now, if they have 339,000 people next week on Wednesday, okay, you got a problem. But guess what? WB is footing the dang bill. Now, Tony Khan is claiming that this deal will make him more money than WCW ever made in their whole entire run on TBS. He may be right, just because in that last couple of years, they lost a ton of money. So if you sit there and take the whole shebang of WCW, yeah, they had 3 really profitable years and then a lot of not profitable years. So if he makes $5, he may eclipse what WCW did. But WCW existed 25 years ago. Inflation is different. Money is different. Tony Khan, I don't believe you.
And the Jacksonville Jaguars are still projected to draft first overall.
No.
Is it?
Oh, that's right. My team is projected to draft first.
There you go.
I knew that before this season started, I'm going, this is not like the Titanic. This is not this luxurious boat that we're taking on a ride and it just happens to hit an iceberg. No. I felt like we were like one of the lifeboats on the Titanic. Don't think we're going to make it. I knew going in, I'm like, this team is going to win maybe a game or 2, maybe 3, 14-10, 9-6. Other than that, if we're not in the lead and it's not a defensive struggle, I don't see us having a game where we score 24 points. We might not even score 21 points in one game.
To be fair, you still have to play the Jets, I think, twice. So I'm hoping for the final score of one of those Jets-Patriots game to be 3-2.
You never know. And there's talk that maybe Bill Belichick may finally go coach the Jets. I think that would be funny, quite honestly. But I think he and Aaron Rodgers would be like water and oil.
Oh, yeah. I agree. But
anyway, 339,000. Yes, it's a bad number. They were on a night that they're not normally on. And I don't know if Raj and the other pillars and Sheldon and what have you, I don't think they were there for them.
They were.
Oh, okay.
And again, just like every other week on Dynamite, they got the highest rated view. There were like 400-something thousand that tuned in for the Big Bang Theory. And then they turned on then AEW went on, and I'm sure it was the Man of 1,000 Faces, Daniel Garcia, or it was the 15 million. I will say this: the lowest rated segment on AEW Dynamite this week was no surprise, the $15 million Mercedes.
Yep.
And it's only because of the fact that the fuckaroos weren't on the show.
Ugh.
I can't with those. I just can't. I just can't with them. I tried, Jay. I tried. You know this. I gave it the old college try and tried to, watch AEW, give it the benefit of the doubt. But when you hire children who look like they're in their 40s and look like shit and don't look like professional wrestlers and they act like they're a bigger deal than they really are, then this is what happens. This is like making me executive vice president of any company. You're not doing it. Because even I know that I wouldn't succeed as an executive vice president. So, I'm sorry. I can't. Between those two fucks, Tony Khan's coke addiction, the fact that they have a plumber who's trying to be, I don't know what he's trying to be. It's whatever it is, it's not working.
The Shane McMahon faction.
Is that what it's going to be? Is that
I
what it's
think
going to be?
so.
They're going to have Shane McMahon lead the Jon Moxley, Marina Shafir faction. You don't know me. You don't know me. Nobody knows me. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't. The greatest promo ever cut.
Yeah.
That promo by Marina Shafir made Scott Steiner's Steiner Math, which is actually literally the greatest promo ever cut by any human being ever. It made it look like anything Mike Adamle said.
Yes.
They're going to do Shane McMahon being the new... They're going to have him lead the Blackpool Combat Club.
I think so. I think so.
This is why I don't tune in, Cousin Jay. You know what the worst part is? And this is another reason, because every day I go on there and I see AEW do something stupid or somebody from AEW do something stupid. Apparently, over the weekend, there was an indie show where, and for whatever reason, Tony Khan and AEW have been assessed with these guys, the Costco guys, whatever. What the hell are the Costco?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of the Costco guys.
So, obviously, I think they were at one of the AEW shows. They're promoting something. Apparently, at an indie show, the father or whatever, the older guy of the Costco people, whatever the fuck they are, don't know, don't care. People get famous for stupid reasons. Whatever. He was at an indie show, and he tussled with a guy at the indie promotion who also happens to be an All Elite Wrestling employee. And he got the better of said AEW employee. Do you want to venture a guess, or do you already know who that professional wrestler for AEW was who got taken out by the Costco guy?
I don't know. Lay it on me.
If I'm this animated, Cousin Jay, you need to know. You should know. Shot in the dark. How can it be any worse than the Costco guy being in this match? And lo and behold, look who won the pony. The Brainless one. Because it was literally the worst thing I've ever seen when the Costco guy attacked QT Marshall.
He deserved to get the better of it then. All right, good.
Cousin Jay, they want you. If they're trying to bring me back and suck me in, booking the Costco guy versus QT Marshall is. I don't think there's any other matchup that's lower than the Costco guy versus QT Marshall. Here we are. AEW Dynamite. Tonight we're doing the Costco guy versus QT Marshall. Great. And in 3 weeks, he'll be on Rampage wrestling the Beast Mortis for some weird reason.
Do they think that this is Costco guy their version of Bad Bunny? Are they going to try to turn him into Bad Bunny, but use QT Marshall instead of like some other person that's like up and coming that may be good?
I'm leaving AEW because I think I'm a bigger star. 2 weeks later, oh, guess I was wrong. I'm back, Tony. QT Marshall, literally the most forgettable person in professional wrestling because people don't know he's a professional wrestler.
A former WWE superstar.
He's the only person that has Mick Foley beat. Although Mick Foley might be one of the very few people who has eaten a loss as 4 different characters. But QT Marshall is the greatest WWE superstar of all time because not only has he wrestled as a WWE superstar, he wrestled 4 times. He didn't win a single match, and there wasn't a time in any of those matches where he had the same name more than once. So not only did he lose 4 different times for WWE, he lost with 4 different names. I mean, that's more impressive than Mick Foley getting eliminated from the Royal Rumble as 3 different people.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I think with Foley, I think technically in WWE he had 5 names. Because when he was a jobber early on, local competitor, he was called Jack Foley. So he was Jack Foley, Mick Foley, Mankind, Dude Love, and my favorite, Cactus Jack.
I have a very special place in my heart for Dude Love. I'm sorry. I appreciate that just because that was Mick's character. And he got to wrestle, and Dude Love was tag team champions with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The GOAT. What?
Yeah.
And listen, it's fine if this stupid Costco dude and the stupid kids that are with him want to get involved. That's fine. Don't do it in AEW. Not like anybody's going to watch it anyway. You want to get me to tune in? Go wrestle for GCW. I'm sure Nick Gage would love to get his hands on the Costco guy. Give me that. You can't give me New Jack, so you might as well give me Nick Gage. The only 2 people I know who might actually, do something terrible to the stupid Costco guy, so we never see him, or he does another stupid video in the Costco, or whatever the hell it is he does. Like, who are these? What is going on here? Costco guy?
Costco guy.
At some point, we're going to be getting some stupid random match on AEW. It's going to be on Collision on one Saturday, where it's going to be the Beast
guy versus Luigi Primo versus Marco Stunt. Winner gets a title shot. And then Luigi Primo will end up victorious, and it'll be a make-a-pizza match against whoever the champion is at that moment.
It could be anybody at that point.
Yeah. Could be anybody.
I'm sorry. That irritated me when I saw that because I'm like, why? Because this is exactly what happens, Cousin Jay. You and I have witnessed this. You got to witness Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in Bristol Central's Gymnasium.
Yep.
Right before WrestleMania 10. I got to witness Rick Martel versus Jake Roberts in a blindfold match at the XL Center, formerly known as the Hartford Civic Center, before their match at, I think, WrestleMania 7. This is what happens. They start these matches at indie house shows, and then they get put on television. It's only going to be a matter of time within the next few weeks where we're on the podcast, and I'm sitting here going, and my brainless for this week is the fact that they gave us QT Marshall versus the Costco guy on AEW Dynamite, and it's still brought in a greater rating than what the Young Bucks did.
What if we end up getting Chris Hero versus the Costco guy in catering?
That's where they all belong. Them, the Bucks, Cassius Ohno, even though I'm sure he's already been banned.
And instead of having like a street fight, they could just say it's the
food fight.
The food fight and catering between the Costco guy, QT Marshall, Chris Hero, I'm sure there's a few other names we could throw in there, but I think that's a good start.
I got it. This is what you do. You book the Costco guy versus Cassius Ohno in a $1.50 quarter-pound hot dog and a soda on a pole match. And then when they think that Cassius Ohno or the Costco guy are about to win, Kevin Owens I'm sorry, Kevin Steen's music hits, and he goes out there. He does his pop-up power bomb, runs over there, rips the hot dog down, and Kevin Steen wins in his debut on a $1.50 quarter-pound hot dog and a soda on a pole match.
You know, I think that sounds like a good idea. Vince Russo would be proud of the poll.
Don't say that.
I'm just saying.
Don't.
I'm just saying.
No. Don't say that Vince Russo will be proud of anything I said, because then I'm going to have to change my whole gimmick and everything, and I'm not going to be brainless. Because there's nothing more brainless than if Vince Russo was like the brainless one. That's a pretty good idea, bro. Fuck me. No.
Yeah.
At least, to be fair, at least I didn't put it on a forklift.
Yep. That's pretty good.
Like they did with Judy Bagwell.
So, one thing that was very disheartening as far as AEW news goes, so Bryan Danielson may need to wind down his career sooner than we think. He had a match against Okada at Dynamite's anniversary show, and the dude said that, like, basically his arms stopped working and his legs at one point had no power to them. Dude, for the love of God, for the love of your family, like, did this all start with that stinger that he was, like, fighting the referee when he went against Randy Orton all those years ago? Like, is that where all this started? Or is it just, like, the buildup of all the years of just being a pro wrestler that this happened? But, like, he's saying that, like, he is having problems with his limbs. Dude, retire today. If your limbs are not working, retire today. Go home.
When I saw that they were booking Okada with I don't even know if this is their European Championship or their 24/7 title. I don't know. I don't really care. It's fucking AEW. Fuck them. When I saw that they were booking I think it was like an hour-long Iron Man match between the two of them, where it was like the first 20 minutes, the Okada title was on the line with the AEW World Championship, and then the last 20 or 40 minutes or whatever it was of the match, it was going to be just for Daniel Bryanson's title. Every time he has gotten in the ring, Daniel Bryanson, with Okada, he's gotten hurt. He broke his arm. I want to say he suffered a concussion. Every time he's gotten into the ring with Okada, he gets hurt. When I saw that, I said, I swear this motherfucker's going to get hurt, and it's going to be a crying shame because he really shouldn't be getting hurt. He should have lost the Swerve. He should have rode off into the sunset. They should have given Swerve an astronomical freaking feather in his cap to end the career of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. I'll be legit. He's Bryan Danielson on this one. He'll forever be Daniel Bryan.
Champion.
And he's the champion. That's the way to do it. Now you're dragging this poor dude out. Now I kind of need you, Tony. Yeah, no, now we know that Tony's the one that told you to keep going, Daniel. Now that we know this, Tony Khan, put down your Coke for 5 seconds and listen to the Brainless one. Because I know you turned into my podcast with Cousin Jay every Friday at 6:30 for all 376 episodes of this show, of the F and Marks. Tony, put the Coke down and listen to the Brainless one. Anything happens to Bryan Danielson, and his blood is on your hands. You want to play buddy-buddy with everybody? You want to be everybody's best friend? You want to play tiddlywinks with the fucking Young Bucks every week? Fine. Do it. You want to hug everybody? Fine. Do it. But when you need to step up and be a fucking boss, you need to grab your fucking testicles out of wherever the hell they are, attach them back to your freaking scrotum, and go out there and act like a fucking boss. You shouldn't be having one of your biggest stars, one of the biggest stars in wrestling the last decade plus, who's already had issues with injuries, and you're pushing him, We hear it from The Undertaker, who's been retired for years. He's like, man, every time I see the ring, I get that itch, man. You just can't stop. So some of these guys in professional wrestling who've been doing it for as long as they have, it's like an addiction. It took Edge, Edge was retired for 9 years because he had a really nasty neck injury. Steve Austin's career was cut short by a neck injury. Sometimes you just got to be the bigger man and just like, hey, if my guy's ready to retire, you got to let him retire. It's not Bryan Danielson's fault that you don't know what the fuck you're doing or how to act like a boss. This is bad. If he's not feeling his limbs after in the match, that's on you, Tony. I'm sorry. You got to grow up, Peter Pan. They should have just kept the title on Swerve. It would have been a great way because Daniel Bryan would have done the honors for Swerve. Let him get the win. Swerve would look like an even more impressive world champion because not only did he beat everybody he's beaten since he won the AEW world title, but he ended the career of one of the greatest wrestlers of the last 15, 20 years. I'd say he was one of the best performers I've ever seen. Any 35 plus years of watching wrestling. Loved Daniel Bryan. Great in-ring performer. Deserved all of the accolades and all of the success he has gotten. He should have retired. They've been making a lot of stupid decisions in AEW lately. They let their biggest star walk. I'm not even going to talk about the other shit that was involved in it. Other than the fact that they let their biggest star walk and let the freaking douchebag who started all this stuff be the scapegoat. They're bringing in the Costco guys to be a freaking big deal. I mean, it's bad enough that we're getting KSY or whatever the hell it is that freaking Logan Paul's friend is, and all these different people that Logan Paul's bringing in that get RKO'd by Randy Orton at every premium live event. It's fine. But it's like, you got to make decisions, man, that are not stupid. It really does look bad on your company that it went downhill when one of your executive vice presidents got tired of the bullshit and went back to WWE. I'm sorry, it's just not good. You're too busy being friends with everybody. You probably got your hand in too many freaking pots and pans in the kitchen to keep track of just your wrestling. Maybe dive back on your football shit. The Jaguars suck. It's not like they're going to really miss you, Tony. Unless you're part of like the play calling and the analytics, and then they could just get rid of you. The nepotism hire that you were with the Jaguars. Is soccer really going on right now? Do they really need you at Fulham or whatever it is that they got, Fulham or whatever the Liverpool or whatever the name of the AEW Shad Khan's team is that they own? Tony, you got way too much shit on your plate and you want to be everybody's friend. You need to be a boss. That's what separates you from Vince McMahon, other than the fact that Vince has a plethora of lawsuits against him. Taking that out of the equation. The difference between you and Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon was a boss and you want to be everybody's best friend. Now, one of your biggest stars is having issues, medical issues, that he shouldn't be having, that he should have just retired from. He had that nice little hurrah run in WWE. When he was like, oh, I'm going to AEW, I was like, that's stupid. You've had these neck issues. You've had concussion issues. That's not a good thing for a man who's almost in his 40s, Daniel Bryan. You got a wife and kids at home, dude. You got bigger priorities in your life. And it shouldn't take some freaking coke-sniffing clown to tell you that you should or shouldn't be wrestling anymore. And it's a crying shame. It really is. Or as we said at WrestleMania 28, it's a shameful thing. Lobster head,
a careless man who could wind up dead.
Yeah, I had to do it. I'm sorry. One of my favorite Mania moments. But it's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that about Daniel Bryanson. I'm really not surprised because once I saw that he was fighting Okada, I knew shit was going to hit the fan. Brainless Damas.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know how I could segue from that because the only notes I had for AEW was that putrid 300,000 that they did this week.
So they did have that. They have signed a deal with Fox Sports in Mexico.
Olay.
And one thing that is interesting with that deal is that it includes Rampage, I think. Or at least that was on the graphic that was put out there. I think the graphic is probably wrong. I don't think Rampage is going to continue. I think they're going to get AEW Shockwave. And if Fred Ottman is not on that first AEW Shockwave, there's something wrong in the world.
No, if he's not on that first episode and he doesn't crash through the wall and lose his Stormtrooper helmet covered in glitter, then it's an absolute fail. I would tune in for that. If they promised me that the Shockmaster was debuting on Shockwave, I'd tune in for that. And then I would wait for either Mercedes or the Young Bucks to show up on the show and then turn off my TV.
Or the other way to do this will be similar to Capital Combat back in 1990, where Sting came with RoboCop. Maybe they could take Shockwave from Transformers, and it'll be Shockwave in MJF, and they're just coming at people. I don't know. I'm throwing out booking ideas.
You can fight QT Marshall too.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Default answer for the Brainless one. Oh yeah, you can fight QT Marshall. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And actually, I do actually have a segue for AEW because I do have one other note that's kind of AEW worthy. So it came out this week. I don't know if it was Michael Cole or somebody else who said it, but apparently Vince McMahon told Michael Cole that when Christian Cage was working in WWE,
it was Todd Grisham.
Todd Grisham. Thank you. Todd Grisham came out and said that Vince McMahon told him when Christian Cage comes out to the ring, no sell it. Make it seem like just the crowd goes mild when he comes out there. Just no hype, no nothing. Just it's Christian. Don't hype him up. Don't say anything positive. Just Christian's here. And now we were wondering where all of this built up anger and animosity that Christian Cage has been unleashing on this earth for the last year plus came from. I can't even fathom grasping a thought around this because I'm just so appalled that Vince McMahon would go out of his way to basically sabotage Christian ever becoming anything other than nothing.
It's terrible. Vince did the same thing to Uncle Elmer back in the day. I think on Saturday Night's Main Event. Allegedly, he like put his hand in front of his microphone, told Jesse Ventura, "Bury him." By the way, it's officially official. The Body has signed a Legends deal with WWE. And maybe, just maybe, that Saturday Night's Main Event coming up will have the GOAT.
I need McAfee. It's not going to happen because McAfee's still going to be doing the college football shit. I need McAfee and Ventura on Saturday Night's Main Event. You can give me Michael Cole too.
With Karrion Kross doing a Ventura impression.
Look, I only asked for one time in my life where I wanted to hear the craziest combination for a broadcast for football. And I wanted it to be Brett Favre with John Madden and Frank Caliendo dressed up as John Madden. I am now telling you, in 2024, I would be okay if they did a Michael Cole with Jesse the Body Ventura and Karrion Kross portraying Jesse Ventura. So we would have basically 2 Jesse Ventura. Spot on. I mean, spot on.
The only booth that rivals any of these, Naked Gun. They had Mel Allen. They had Dick Vitale. Like, it was like a who's who of announcers, and they just lined them up.
I remember.
And I just remember when the dude lost his head, and Mel Allen's like, "How about that?"
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, better than Bob Uecker in Major League. They had the murderer's row of announcers, Naked Gun, Queen Elizabeth making her way to Los Angeles, and Reggie Jackson tried killing her.
I must kill
the Queen.
It's him.
Hey, look, it's Enrico Palazzo.
Sorry. But yeah, honestly, that's great. I love the fact that Jesse Ventura got this Legends deal. I know that I talked a lot about how Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan was the de facto #1 broadcast team. For me, they were the best duo of anything. Just whether they were calling matches or if they were doing like that Saturday show.
Yeah, Wrestling Challenge.
Thank you, Wrestling Challenge, when they were doing that stuff. Just because Bobby Heenan could work with anybody, because Bobby Heenan was ahead of his time. Bobby Heenan would be an absolute, he would be better than Paul Heyman right now if he was around in this era. But Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon were just as legendary to me as Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. And I always liked Jesse, and I know I've said this before, I've always liked Jesse because he was one of those ones that, yes, he was the heel announcer, but he was a real dude. And I always go back to when it was Dino Bravo, I think it is the Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, where he did
Royal Rumble.
You may not like him, but you got to respect him for what he's doing. He's incredible. He's got a great voice for it. He's got a great mind for wrestling. Please, I don't ask for much, Triple H. Yes, I may have asked for years for one less hour of Monday Night Raw, and now people are complaining about that. Because, surprising, the internet wrestling community is not happy about a 2-hour Raw after they complained about 3 hours of Raw.
Triple H, I mean, we had a multi-year ask that was denied at WrestleMania 38.
Unforgivable. You owe us.
But there's an opportunity for redemption here.
I don't think
everybody loves the redemption story arc. Everybody.
Cousin Jay, there's no way that we're going to find a time machine. There's no way we can find a time machine, go back to 2022, and bring the Iron Sheik to WrestleMania 38, because that's the only way you can fix anything. He tried. You got to give Triple H credit for trying, because he did give us back Elias after Vince gave us Redacted.
Right.
This is an easy fix. And I'm pretty sure that Jesse Ventura would be on it. I'm already expecting them to do, an A&E documentary on Jesse Ventura now. Yeah, please. Give me Jesse Ventura on that. Give me all the Jesse Ventura you can give me. You want to put him all over the freaking Netflix when they get this new deal? All of the Jesse, give me a Jesse Ventura channel. I'll listen and watch everything that Jesse Ventura does. You give me Jesse Ventura on Saturday night's main event, and I'm going to be tuning in. It could be Los Lotharios versus Breezango, and I would tune in to watch Jesse Ventura. I would watch Kazarni battle a freaking mop if Jesse Ventura was at color commentary. Hell, give me CM Punk with them. Give me Ventura, Cole, and CM Punk. CM Punk is the best in the ring. He's the best on the mic. He's the best in the commentary. He's the GOAT. Give me Punk, and Ventura loves CM Punk. Give me CM Punk in the main event. They're giving me reasons to love wrestling again, Cousin Jay, and I love it, and it's all because of Triple H. It's all because – no, I'm sorry. It's all because of 2023 F. Mark's Lifetime Achievement Humanitarian of the Year Award winner, Janelle Grant, for getting Vince McMahon out of office. She may actually get it a second year in a row because technically the greatest thing that happened in WWE happened on January 1st of 2024. And that was when Bucky Buckfuck Beaver retired and was never seen again. And now we're getting the greatest promotion of or production of WWE we have ever gotten. But honestly, I give me Jesse Ventura. Give me Jesse Ventura.
Give me Jesse Ventura and have WWE production win an Emmy this year. It's all the Bucky Beaver ever wanted. All that he ever wanted. And if they do it the first year he's gone, he will be at home having a pity party, sipping on some logs and dreaming about dams.
Well, his first reaction is going to be if he sees it. They're going to be like, and the winner is WWE for production of the year. Damn.
Yeah.
I know that's Ron Simmons' line, but damn. Hey, Vince, we got to get a wrestling promotion together. I got to win an Emmy.
So in the chat, Chris Brown is bringing up the, we got Raw going to Netflix starting in 2025. But the deal with Peacock in WWE is up in 2026. And, right now, or starting in 2025, basically around the world, if you want the WWE network, you're going to need Netflix. And it sounds like that's the direction we're heading in the United States as well. That Netflix will be the home for everything WWE that's not NXT and not SmackDown. What are your thoughts, Brainless One?
Peacock better drop the price because if they want me to continue paying for Dwight Schrute and Ron Swanson every single month, they're going to have to do a lot better than what I think $7.99 it is a month for this stupid Peacock. If they're going to be losing WWE, are we really surprised? I figured everything was going to move in.
No, not at all.
I missed the WWE Network. I loved the WWE Network. It was literally my favorite app. And then they did all this shit with Peacock, and now it's a lot less enjoyable when it's on Peacock. I'm going to hold out any opinions on this whole move to Netflix because I'm curious to see how Netflix is going to do it. I personally prefer Hulu over Netflix because Netflix is kind of stupid. But regardless, I'm curious to see how I want to see how it kind of gets set up and how ease of access is going to be, finding material, how they're going to do it with the organization. Is WWE going to have their own little section just like it does on Peacock where I could just go to the thing like, oh, there's WWE instead of me having to search for like Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon or whatever that is I look for.
I have had so much harder of a time finding Clash of the Champions 13 on Peacock. I'll just tell you that much.
Same.
But that has not stopped me from seeing Primetime Brian Lee versus the Z-Man multiple times. Sometimes you got to make that extra effort.
That's F and Mark's Hall of Famer Clash of the Champions 13.
Yes.
Cheeky, just a positive.
Positive. That's not good.
Yes. It was like, kayfabe died recently. No, kayfabe died when Hacksaw Jim Duggan got pulled over for speeding with the Iron Sheik, high off coke. That's the night kayfabe died.
Sad.
Very
sad day. So I'm glad the body's back, and I do want to hear him on commentary at least one more time.
Me too. At least once. And honestly, I wouldn't be upset if they did like a Saturday night main event and then they're like, hey, let's have them call a match at WrestleMania. Like if they did CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and they let Jesse Ventura do color commentary.
Sure.
Sign me up, please.
Yeah.
That would be good shit.
All right. So another return that we did have at the Premium Live event. I know you were psyched. Goldberg.
Oh, thank God, that's what you were talking about. See, unlike one of my favorite wrestlers, Bret Hart, I don't hate Goldberg because at the end of the day, yes, I'm not Goldberg's not the greatest wrestler of all time, but because of the fact that one of my greatest obsessions in professional wrestling is a squash match, and nobody, and I mean nobody, did a better job at squash matches than Goldberg. I was hooked. During the Monday Night Wars, I was glued to Nitro when Goldberg was on. Whether he was fighting Hugh Morris, or he was fighting Scott Norton, or if he was fighting the Disco Inferno, or when La Parka hit him with a steel chair and he acted like nothing happened and then speared him and then jackhammered 1, 2, 3. Goldberg.
And then when he won the U.S. title from Raven, taking on the entire flock.
What was it? The Wall, I think it was, that he picked up and slammed, and people were like, "Holy shit!" Or he got him up. I think he jackhammered that big dude.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, like, or even when he won the title from Hogan on Nitro in Georgia, that was one of the greatest moments in Nitro history. I loved it. I'm tuned in for that. I'm absolutely tuned in for that. I was happy to see Goldberg. I was even just as happy when Gunther came out and told Goldberg, I told Bret Hart a couple of weeks ago that you were my favorite wrestler, and now that you're here, I wanted to let you know that I lied. And he was calling him out. And I was like, oh, shit. I said, one of two things is going to happen with this. When Sami Zayn fights Gunther for the title on Monday Night Raw, Goldberg's going to interfere, cost Gunther the match. Sami Zayn's going to become world heavyweight champion, and I'm going to piss myself. Or he's not going to get involved in that, and we get Gunther versus Goldberg for the world heavyweight championship, which is going to make me want to do something, but it's not going to be piss myself.
If there's somebody who could possibly pull a good match at this time in Goldberg's life out of him, it's Gunther.
I don't want Goldberg in the ring with Gunther in a one-on-one match. I don't care how long ago it was. Goldberg is not going to do to Gunther what he did to Bret Hart, because he ruined Bret Hart's career. I don't need him ruining Gunther's career, because Gunther is GOAT status, and he is the biggest heel that WWE has right now. He is the most complete package that WWE has had since probably
Lex Luger.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
Except he was a narcissist. And then the All-American Lex Luger, after he body slammed the Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid.
July 4th.
Yes. But I don't want. That's what I didn't want. I said, if we get Goldberg interfering in a Sami Zayn title match on Monday and he helps Sami win, yes, please, give me that. Goldberg versus, it's like the meme with the Homer Simpson meme where he's got the big smile on his face. Goldberg helps Gunther lose to Sami Zayn. Oh, yeah, I'm happy. Goldberg versus Gunther. Ugh. No, I don't want that. I don't want to see Goldberg wrestle Gunther. Give me something like what he did with Dolph Ziggler. Somebody who's going to sell the shit out of a bunch of his finishers. If they're so dead set on putting Goldberg in a match, have him wrestle that, or give him somebody goofy in Saudi Arabia again. I don't care. Who's left out there that's like goofy enough that he could wrestle at the Saudi show? That's not going to matter if he beats him in a squash match. Austin Theory. There we go. That'll work. Who?
Ryback.
It's funny you say that second part of that name there, and that's exactly who I thought you were going with. And the fact that I'm sure Timmy's not chiming in on the chat right now because he was just as appalled and disgusted with that other person's return at Bad Blood.
Yeah.
And that happens to be, I'm sorry, before we get into that, what are your thoughts on Goldberg? I apologize. I was getting a little carried away. I apologize.
You know, like, if he wants to have one more match, like if it's something akin to what Captain Cupcake and Stone Cold did, where like they have an actual match, it's at WrestleMania. Don't make it somebody who's at the top of the food chain. Make it somebody who's in the middle, and just being in the ring with that person could do them well. I wouldn't mind seeing him in the ring with somebody like Bronson Reed.
That would be fun.
You know, whether he wins or loses doesn't matter too much, but Bronson Reed would be able to, you know, even if Goldberg, like if they figured out a way to have Goldberg safely do a jackhammer to Bronson Reed, but Bronson Reed kicks out of it and ends up giving him the Typhoon Splash from the top rope and win. You know, I think somebody like him might not be the worst opponent.
No. But we both know that if Goldberg was in the match with Bronson Reed and Bronson Reed hits him with 7 tsunamis, Goldberg's going to get up like nothing hit him. And then he's going to spear him 1, 2, 3, and then we all puke.
Ugh.
And honestly, though, I think that is a good idea to have somebody like a Bronson Reed get in the ring with him, because Bronson Reed could definitely get a little help from the rub getting in the ring with Goldberg.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to see him in the ring with Gunther either, then.
I mean, Gunther could take anybody except for Nia Jax to a good match. So. So if we're trying to have him go out like having like something resembling like a decent match where he doesn't almost kill himself and the person in the ring he's going against, you know, I think somebody like Gunther would be a good choice. But you know, whether or not he could get somebody like Bronson Reed up for a jackhammer, I don't know. But again, I think somebody like that could stand to. It would be good for them to be in a ring like with Goldberg. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But now we can talk about the lesser of all the returns that happened on Saturday.
Yep. Get into it.
So during the match between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, where Dominic Mysterio was in a shark cage and miraculously was able to sneak out of it in a way, and then he got his foot caught in the rope that was in the cage and was hanging from the thing like a piñata. And if I'm not mistaken, Rhea Ripley actually did take a freaking kendo stick and start beating him with a kendo stick.
Yeah.
Then, as the referee was trying to break that part up, the Rackback returned on Saturday and fucked everything up. She came out there. She was supposed to help. She was supposed to hit Rhea, throw her back in the ring, and then put Liv on top of her so that Liv could cover for the 1, 2, 3. However, because she's a clumsy, horrible in-ring performer, I am not in any way, shape, or form a fan of the Rackback. She fucked it up. The referee saw her. He saw her attack Rhea Ripley, and instead of Liv Morgan winning via nefarious tactics, Rhea Ripley won via disqualification.
And I would have had a clean card. I would have had a damn clean card.
You have a clean card. You have an I don't care. I know I was like, I don't know if I would give you a clean card before the show. No. It's the rule of the Rackback. If somebody fucks something up and the referee has to call an audible, as far as I'm concerned, that's as much as a push. So I'm giving that to you as a victory. That is a W. That is a perfect card for you, sir, because you would have had a perfect card if it wasn't for the Rackback fucking up the finish of the women's world title match. So, Cousin Jay, I think for the second time this year, you have now had a perfect card, if not the third.
something like that.
But
They're doing pretty good.
Kudos to you that you got another perfect card, and it would have been a lot better if it wasn't for the fact that the rackback fucked it up.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Raquel Rodriguez? Just in case anybody's not aware of what rackback is for me, what are your thoughts on Raquel Rodriguez returning at Bad Blood?
The return itself, as far as the storyline and what have you, yeah, she botched the heck out of it. Happy as heck to see her back and healthy. When we last saw her in Australia, it's like she had an anaphylactic attack, and her face was all jacked up, and her body and her immune system was all jacked up. And it was really a question of whether or not she would actually be healthy enough to ever come back based off of that. So the fact that she looked like herself again, awesome.
Yes.
But you need to work on a lot of stuff. A lot. Because that was bad. Really bad. Like Tom Zenk doing a high cross body to Brian Lee, bad.
Where Tom Zenk was landing in Tennessee and primetime Brian Lee was still standing in Missouri.
Yes.
I'm going to say this right now. I am going to shock you with what I say. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say it.
Okay.
I would rather watch. Ready? I would rather watch Nia Jax wrestle Eva Marie than watch Nia Jax versus the Rackback right now.
Oh. All right.
See this face?
WWE, you are
this
on
is,
notice. Call
this is
up
the
Eva
stern.
Marie today.
I am totally serial here. I mean it. I said it. I meant it. And I'd say it again.
You're as serious as a heart attack.
I would, as a heart attack, I would much rather watch Eva Marie and Nia Jax. And we all know that I would much not want to watch. I would rather not watch that match. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst match that they could give us that includes one of the participants being Nia Jax.
If her and Eva Marie became a tag team and they went against the Bucks, would that be Armageddon for you?
It would be like Los Lotharios versus Breezango in my house if that happened for any tag team championship. I would not want to see what my TV would look like if Los Lotharios fought Breezango.
Would it be like somebody watching Great Gatsby?
No, that's me watching the Bucks. Period. I'm surprised. I've not Gatsby'd my television with those two fucks on my TV. Amongst other people who may want to throw stuff at my TV.
Ugh. Yeah. But
yeah, it's hard to kind of segue from that when the Rackback came in and not only screwed up the match on Saturday, but she definitely just threw the anchor out in this podcast because I had to mention the Rackback.
Yeah.
Because why not? Because everything about the whole card after the Hell in a Cell match on Saturday was underwhelming. Nothing against Finn Balor and Priest and Damian Priest. Pretty solid.
Fine. It's fine.
Nia Jax and Bayley. Unfortunately, Bayley was relegated to the bathroom break after the Hell in a Cell match because there's no way in hell anybody else but Nia Jax is going to follow that match, including that.
You go from the 5-star match to the, 0.25.
We went from a 5-star match to a half-a-star match with Nia Jax screwing up the Hurricane Rana. Allegedly. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so I wouldn't know. That's what I've been told, that she botched something in the match. They were like, yeah, she botched something in the match, and they said, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
This is my shock face. Nia Jax fucked something up in a match. We should just be thankful it wasn't Bayley's face like she did to Becky.
Right.
But
Or did she break R-Truth's rib at the Royal Rumble?
she did.
Yeah.
I still love that when he came out in the Women's Royal Rumble. He's like, where are the guys? By the way, since you did mention R-Truth, earlier this week, The Miz celebrated his birthday. I believe it was his 44th birthday.
Okay.
Even though R-Truth had The Miz turn on him last week, and somehow The Miz did not get my Brainless for last week. No, because it went to me. R-Truth did actually wish The Miz kind of sort of a happy birthday. He said, Miz, for your birthday, I hope that when you sleep at night in your bed, that both sides of your pillow are hot and that there are saltine cracker crumbs all throughout your sheets. That is literally the most diabolical thing I've ever heard any human being wish upon somebody else. And I've known myself for 41 years. Even I'm not even that evil. R-Truth. I'm sorry. You mentioned R-Truth. I had to mention that because I laughed my ass off because R-Truth. R-Truth, honest to goodness, is the best follow on Instagram and he's the best follow on Twitter. It's not even close. He is entertaining and he responds to all of his fans. That is somebody that is a star and a role model that people could look up to. And that is a man that I'm very proud to say is an FM Marks Hall of Famer as well.
Yes. All right.
But we did, since we were on the topic of Bad Blood, apparently at the end of the show, WWE had their cameras still rolling after the show ended. And no, I'm not talking about when The Rock screamed at the blank, 18-wheeler in the back that he called Fruity Pebbles to. Apparently at one of the other trailers, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes had a disagreement, which led to Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes. Triple H said that he was going to look into it and take matters into his own hands and see what's going to happen. Cousin Jay, what are your thoughts on Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes after Bad Blood?
So, it's perfectly fine to have Captain Cupcake go to being a heel again. I think he works better in general as a heel. But, when they did the AJ Styles storyline, he beat AJ Styles in the first match. And then, they were supposed to have, some sort of respect for each other. And then AJ beat the crap out of him to get a rematch. This kind of feels like a retread of that. I mean, they took a little bit longer to make it happen, where Cody, let's have a match. You've earned it. Beats him, Captain Cupcake, goes and sulks, in the hollowed out tree for a few weeks, and then decides that he's going to come back. Because guess what? While he was so sulking, he got bad blood within his soul, mixed with dough and chocolate chips, and decided that he was going to take it out on Homelander, and left Homelander in a gooey mess on the ground, very similar to what the final boss did when it was raining outside. He beat the holy heck out of Cody. So I think maybe, just maybe, whatever December pay-per-view they're having, we might get a cook-off between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens with the Easy Bake Oven, Hostess Easy Bake Oven, and they're going to be cooking up a soft batch.
I like soft batch cookies.
Yes, but they don't. I don't think they have anybody ready in the queue for Cody to go against. So they're like, we could always throw out Kevin Owens again. but
It's because their biggest.
I'm sure they'll have a fine story. They'll have a fine match, but again, it feels like a retread of what they did with AJ, and they did the thing with AJ because they didn't have anybody else ready for Cody. And that was when they've done Solo and Cody. It's like
twice. They've done it twice, and they're going to end up just beating that dead horse if they keep going back to Solo versus Cody. So they need somebody, and that's their biggest issue. And they don't want to do it with Jacob because they're not ready to do that with Jacob because they know what they have in Jacob Fatu. They know this kid's going to be a star. The kid's going to be a star. He's going to eventually eclipse Solo Sikoa no later than the week right after WrestleMania.
In Tongaloa.
In Tongaloa, yeah. Well, Tongaloa doesn't count. But this is the problem that they have on SmackDown is they don't have enough credible heels on the show. I mean, you can even do something like even give Carmelo Hayes a shot because it's like, yeah, why not? Carmelo Hayes is a former NXT champion.
Back in the day, WCW and/or NWA would occasionally do things just to have an interesting match. They had a very good match between Ricky Morton and Ric Flair.
Yep.
Ricky Morton was known as a tag team specialist who had won the tag team championships multiple times. But like when they had, I think it may have even been one of the Clash of Champions and earlier than Clash 13 Clash. When they were like, maybe the quality of the wrestling was a little higher than 13, but but I'm okay with occasionally having that, but when you sit there and like do things like what they've been doing, it's like there will be a story hopefully that we could latch on to that will mean something with Cody, but right now the storylines for him for his title run have not been the greatest.
Agreed.
And like I said, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to make this like kind of interesting, and I'm sure they'll have a kind of good match. But this could be the end of the Cupcake Road before the Hostess Heroes take flight in AEW.
Yeah?
Yeah, because Kevin Owens' contract's supposedly up pretty soon.
Yeah?
Yeah?
It's funny.
What are your thoughts about this Brainless one?
Well, you know what, Cousin Jay? I'm actually glad you asked me because I have a very, very good thought about this whole thing with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. To the point where I put a lot of thought and effort into what I was going to do. So I did decide to come up with my Brainless top 10 for this week. The top 10 reasons why Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes after Bad Blood.
All right.
And I tell you what, Cousin Jay, I'll bet any amount of money you know what number one is. But the best part is you have no idea what 2 through 10 are, and you have no idea what kind of ride this brainless brain is going to bring us on.
All right.
Number 10, he wanted to win over Tony Khan without being hugged or buying cocaine. Because his contract is expiring.
Yeah.
Number 9, he heard his Hostess Heroes counterpart is also a heel in AEW.
And we know, if you're a baker, you don't necessarily like heels, but apparently they do.
Yes. The cupcake hero, or the Hostess Heroes.
Yes.
Number 8, he overheard Cody Rhodes say he likes Randy Orton better.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 7, he attacked Cody to convince Solo Sikoa to replace Tonga Loa with him in the bloodline. Because anything above Tonga Loa is an upgrade because it's Tonga Loa. I got to get this one good. Number 6, he did it for The Rock. He did it for the people. You did it for. Oh, shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I had to do it. I'm sorry. But he did it for The Rock. Number 5, he listened to Hey Jealousy by the Gin Blossoms before he attacked Cody Rhodes.
The most 90s band ever.
I am not going to argue with that at all, because that is an accurate statement.
There are bigger 90s bands, but they're the most 90s band.
Oh, absolutely. They are the definition of 90s bands, period.
Yeah, I think I've seen them 4 times.
I've seen them once, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, they were good.
Tremendous show. Cousin Jay, you and I were at that show in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Fantastic. My ancestors are going to hate me for this one. Number 4, he's Canadian. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, my ancestors too. My ancestors too.
I pissed off. I pissed off a lot of guys.
Uncle Ray, cousin
just
Ray.
Just not my father. Your Uncle Robbie. He's not upset because he claims that we're not Canadian, even though we're Canadian. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to take the word of El Diablo Blanco or my grandfather's birth certificate. Hate to break it to you, Dad. You may deny it all you want. We are French Canadian, eh?
Hey, what you talking about?
What you talking about? So yes, number 4, he's Canadian. I'm sorry. Cousin Jay is clean and clear of this. I am sorry. Don't throw any koozies at me.
Yeah.
Number 3. He got so close to Cody, he mistaken him for Sami Zayn. Not like in proximity, but like they got so close.
Yeah.
Since this whole thing happened, he thought
there was going to be a festival of friendship, and there just wasn't.
He beat up Cody like he beat up his best friend Sami, because we all know that there's 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Sami Zayn is going to get his ass kicked by Kevin Owens for no apparent reason. Numero 2. His contract is expiring soon, so he can go to AEW and play tiddlywinks with the Young Bucks. Because God only knows they're not wrestling in AEW.
Perfect sense.
Well, Cousin Jay, that is 2 through 10 of my top 10 reasons. Kevin Owens,
very nice, very
Cody Rhodes.
Mostly reasonable list.
Mostly reasonable list. I know that I have a whole bunch of guys very upset with me, looking down on me from heaven, but that's okay.
Yes,
it's fun. But Cousin Jay, would you like to venture a guess? What the number 1 reason why Kevin Owens beat up the American Nightmare Homelander after Bad Blood on Saturday?
So, because they had gotten so closer than he and Sami, Cody Rhodes decided he was going to steal Kevin Owens' cupcake. It has to be that. It can't be anything else.
The sad part
and then he blocked him on Twitter.
The sad part is, word for word, Cody Rhodes stole Kevin Owens' cupcake is literally the number 1 thing. Not took it, not stolen from catering. He stole the cupcake from Kevin Owens because that's really the only justifiable thing that would make Kevin Owens snap and attack Homelander.
He snapped, crackled, and popped.
He stole his cupcake. Cody, you need to know these things. I swear, Cousin Jay, there should be more people in wrestling, not even the internet wrestling community, just more people in wrestling who should be tuning into our podcast, the F and Marks, every Friday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, they should be listening to Cousin Jay and the Brainless one. Because I may be brainless, but I do know what I am talking about, even if I absolutely obliterate the English language thanks to my Bristol Eastern education.
Yes.
But I may be brainless, but I'm not a moron. If that makes any sense.
But we're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati after we beat the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Took that one from the greatest defensive coordinator in New York Giants history, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Who may or may not, if he doesn't coach the Jets next year, may be the new head coach of the Giants if they decide to go in that direction. Because I can see that happen, fortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah? Do you have anything else on your notes there, Cousin Jay?
Nope. I think we hit everything.
I have two quick things, and then we can get into our good and bad and brainless.
Yep. All right.
All right, so this week on NXT, they're both on NXT. This week on NXT, they had the situation where Roxanne and Cora Jade were in the ring, and they were going to have that face-to-face with Julia after Cora Jade cost Julia her NXT Women's Championship match against Roxanne last week. And Julia said she was going to have backup for when she deals with them. And she did. And we finally got the actual debut of Stephanie McCoy on NXT this week. Just absolutely adding another ace to an already, stellar, stacked women's division down in NXT. Very happy to see Stephanie McCoy down there. Very happy to see Julia down there. Fantastic stuff. I love NXT's women's. I just love NXT, period. Love it every single week. And my only other note was Randy Orton did wrestle against Javon Evans. Other than the little botched RKO that they had coming out of the corner, solid match. That kid is impressive, and he's only 20. But I do appreciate that after Randy Orton did win the match, he stood in the ring, was with the kid, he helped him up, raised his hand up, showed him the respect, said that you're gonna be something special. Really like that. If nobody's checking out NXT, you're really just, costing yourself. It is some of the best 2 hours of television you're gonna watch every single week. Enjoyed the hell out of NXT, even if my hero Obafemi lost to Tony D'Angelo. Suffering his first loss in NXT, by the way, Obafemi. Sad for 3 days. Still sad. That's why I'm wearing black.
And one thing I'm looking forward to, but apparently it sounds like not happening on NXT. Sounds like the Motor City Machine Guns are coming to SmackDown. And oh, by the way, the Viking Experience has a new name.
Oh,
They are once again the War Machine.
Oh my! Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm happy that we're getting the War Machine back and no more, and then to flush the Viking Experience down the toilet. That I know for a fact that Ivar hated.
I mean, Viking Raiders was fine, but they're the War Machine.
They're the War Machine. They were oh, please. Again, injected into my veins. Just like with Motor City Machine Gun. I can't wait for that. I need them. And I'm glad that they're going to be on the main roster. I'm sure they would have done fine down at NXT, but they need to be in the main roster. And it would have surprised me.
They should have a WrestleMania match.
Oh,
They've been doing it too long to not have an opportunity to possibly wrestle at WrestleMania. Even if it ends up being in a match where R-Truth is getting a hot tag for a ladder match.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Man, and that's probably, I would have surprised me if that had to do with the fact that they were expecting the Lucha Brothers to go to NXT, to SmackDown, and then Tony Khan got his freaking panties in an uproar and had to freaking add time to Ray Phoenix's contract for injury.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me like they had to make up for it, but Hey, I'm happy for it. I like Alex Shelley. I like Chris Sabin. I think they're both going to be tremendous stars. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see Motor City Machine Gun in WWE.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun. There's so many matches they're going to have, and they're all going to be fun.
Yeah. Going to be great. All right.
Well, I guess that means it's time for our good.
Our bad.
And our brainless.
Yeah.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
You know, there are many things I could go with this week. I mean, that Hell in a Cell match was something else. Effin' Mark's Hall of Famer Gags the Clown sent me a commercial that is the most wrestling commercial I've ever seen that does not involve wrestling, and I wanted to make that my good. It was for some guy, Brian Wilson, Texas Law Hawk. I will have to send it to you after the podcast. It is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life, and I wanted to make that my good. But hearing the story of one Adam Edge Copeland helping FEMA and helping victims of the disastrous Hurricane Helene, I have to give the Rated R superstar his due, doing the work that our government should be doing better than they do. Adam Copeland, you get my good this week.
Thank you, Adam Edge.
All right, Brainless One. What is your good?
I'm going with the Hell in a Cell match. I agree with you. There was so much good this week. Our Truth on Twitter has been fantastic. He liked my tweet for a fifth time. So right now, Our Truth is like heading into the clubhouse of replacing somebody in my Rushmore. He's already leapfrogged Hulk Hogan on my top 10 list, which is not very hard to do because everybody's doing it now.
Brother.
But I'm sorry. That was an awesome Hell in a Cell match. That was match of the year for me this year. That match had me thoroughly entertained, like watching Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther in that triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, and Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash at the Castle. That's how thoroughly entertained I was. Hell, even as much as Cody and Seth in the Hell in a Cell, that match was excellent. Very, very excellent match. Loved everything. I love the fact that we got color from both of them.
Yeah.
I loved every piece and bit of that, and I hate the fact that Meltzer didn't give it 5 stars because Meltzer's a piece of shit. But in my grand scheme of things, I would give it 5 brains, so it gets my good for this week.
All right.
What do you got for your bad?
So we had yet another hurricane come through the United States, and this time it set its mark on Central Florida, and one place that has, held Royal Rumbles and housed the WWE during the pandemic, aka the Thunderdome, aka Tropicana Field, the dome got obliterated by Hurricane Milton. And because of all the carnage and what have you, I'm not going to make fun of Tropicana Field too much, but it did need a facelift.
They got one.
Yeah. Allegedly, the Rays are getting a new home stadium, which they've needed since that first one was built. So as long as they keep the Ray tank, that's great. But yeah, I can only imagine if they were attempting, if the Rays had made the playoffs and can you imagine trying to reschedule
Oh God, yes.
So
It's
my bad's going to go with the destruction of the Thunderdome, aka Tropicana Field.
just gonna be a shame now. There's not gonna be any ground rule doubles or outs off the catwalk because the catwalk is 5 miles away now. I'm sorry.
Something like that.
They actually made a dumpy stadium less dumpy by this hurricane. After all the destruction is amazing. And unlike you, I have no problem still shitting on Tropicana Field because fuck the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
My bad for this week, I'm going with AJ Styles. AJ Styles returned last week, and they were going to do an injury angle on Raw where he would drop his, I think it was Carmelo Hayes, on his knee and fake a knee injury. However, AJ Styles, when he dropped Carmelo Hayes on his knee, actually legitimately injured his knee. So now AJ Styles, who's been out for a bit of time for, their booking reasons, had a horrible ankle injury a couple of years back, is now out again with an injury. And it is just bad because it's the phenomenal AJ Styles. I absolutely adore AJ Styles, and the fact that he got hurt again just breaks my heart. So AJ Styles getting hurt, and ironically on a move that was supposed to be a kayfabe injury, just sucks. So he gets my bat for this week.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Sad.
What do you got for your Brainless?
So a thing that we brought up last week on the podcast, that there were some, columns out there talking about how that there have not been any African-American performers who, on the male side of things, that have won a singles match on a premium live event in the Triple H era. During the Bad Blood press conference, it was like the second or third questions, a reporter actually asked him about this. When we talked about it last week, it's like, oh no, this is a whole bunch of BS. How many top-level African-American performers do they have that are in prominent positions? A lot of them. And it, Triple H just, I don't see color. I see talent. I see storylines, and whatever storylines are best are the ones that end up on the show. And whoever is in the position to win, to move the storyline forward, that's who wins.
Right.
The fact that somebody asked him the question, it's like, and Booker T came to, his defense saying, yeah, it is the talent. You don't just put somebody in a position. They have to earn that spot. And right now, he has the right people up there. And it's like, the entire bloodline is not white people. And if you want to get like The Rock is half Samoan and half black. He won night one at WrestleMania in the main event. Yeah, it was a tag team match, but like Bianca Belair has been one of the most well-booked performers in the entire company.
And she's doing them a very solid favor by helping the
Jade
development of Cargill. So I won't say I can't say a bad thing, because I think if Rhea Ripley wasn't there, Bianca Belair is number one in the entire world.
So there really isn't any evidence that like there's any sort of bias. Like that there are people up and coming. There are other people from other races or other ethnicities that are booked really well. I mean, somebody will get their chance.
Look at
when.
Look at all the time that Dominic Mysterio is getting on television. Is there anybody outside of the bloodline that's getting more television time right now than Dominic Mysterio? Think about that.
Yeah, and he's got Mexican heritage. You have Damian Priest, Puerto Rican heritage. Storylines and how good you are at your job. And I think you're right. I think main event Montez Ford would be higher up on the card if he decided like he was going to go into business for himself and like, nah, I don't need my partner anymore. He'd be higher up.
The fact that he's a good human being just makes you realize where he would be on the card. Because
Right.
He definitely would be at least U.S. champion by now. He got to fight Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. People forget that. So, and I hated the fact
the fact that somebody asked Triple H that question in the press conference, like just like looking to get some clickbait article.
Pretty sure it was spiteful.
Yeah. So.
And for all those people that are saying this, and it was the major catalyst was MVP because of the comments that he was made, and then he tried backtracking. Let's see what happens now that MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and possibly Bobby Lashley are all going to be at AEW. How is the Hurt Syndicate or whatever they're going to be called going to be going forward? Are they going to be booked better than they were in WWE? Are they going to be booked the same? Or are they going to be booked worse than they were in WWE? Time will tell, and I'm curious how it's going to go. That will be the ultimate catalyst because a lot of this came out because of all the things that happened with Bobby Lashley and how you can't figure out anything for Bobby Lashley. So, my brainless for this week, though, I am giving it. I originally had the rack back penciled in as my brainless for this week.
Yeah,
but I decided to give it to both women's matches from Bad Blood just because. You had the botch machine, Nia Jax, who absolutely botched because I know she did because it's Nia Jax. Shouldn't even have been in the match. I was actually, when I heard that Tiffy was trying to cash in, I almost tuned in to see if she would, but I had a feeling she wasn't going to, even though I know that Tiffy's going to be the biggest face in the history of wrestling when she cashes in that briefcase on Nia Jax, and you can't tell me otherwise. But the fact that Nia Jax was the bathroom break is all you needed to know. So that made it brainless. And the rack back fucking up the finish of the other women's title match to the point where the referee had to call an audible is why they both get my brainless for this week. When I sit here and try to talk up women's wrestling, and this is the shit they have, and the fact that the highlight of all the women's stuff was Chelsea Green smelling like garbage, sitting in the luxury box with Naomi, Bianca, and Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
And they kept Piper Niven. That was more entertaining than either of the two women's matches, and it's not the wrestling match's fault in the Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan match. It is just the rack back doing what rack back does and just disappointing wrestling fans for everyone.
Yeah.
So rack back and Nia Jax, you get my brainless for this week.
All right.
Anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, M-A-R-K-S, the F from Marks. If you like, follow and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so you will be notified that we are live, whether it's on the Facebooks or on the YouTubes.
What?
So you can join in the conversation and talk about our favorite sport we all love to hate, professional wrestling. Oh, New York Jets. What?
No, I actually said professional wrestling this week.
All right.
I did. I swerved.
Yeah.
Elon Musk ain't getting my money. So sorry, Twitter. We'll find a new way to get you guys back up and running somehow, some way. Maybe the brainless one can try to convince Periscope to come back so I can keep adding to episode 91 that was up to 11 billion views.
Right.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what it was. I hate that it was, but I don't care. Every week I tune in. Oh, look, I have 7 more views in episode 91. They're going to be so disappointed when they realize it's a dude's fingers and not a woman's butt. But anyway, I think that's everything. I know we did our good, bad, and brainless. We talked about Bad Blood. We talked about how Kevin Owens is a fat piece of shit for attacking Cody Rhodes. We talked about the return of The Rock and Jimmy Uso and
Goldberg.
The return of Goldberg and the rack back. We did my top 10. We covered all the bases. I believe that is everything for this podcast for this week.
Yep, absolutely everything. Nothing left to cover.
You know, brainless one. What's up, Curtis Axel? I swear, I feel like each and every episode that I'm going to be replaced by R-Truth as the mainstay FMR's Hall of Famer. Curtis Axel, I'm going to guarantee you this. That will never happen because of all the people, including Cousin Jay and myself, there has only been one person to appear on more episodes than Cousin Jay and I. And you're about to tell them why. Well, Brainless One, it's because today, October 11th, 24, at an astonishing 3,547 days, I, FMR's Hall of Famer, is still alive in 2015 Royal Rumble. Anyway, for episode 376 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the FMRs.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless One. Make sure you mark it
With your guac out. See everyone.
Thanks
Enjoy
for tuning in.
SmackDown. Enjoy Raw. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy the Giants losing to Cincinnati on Sunday like I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.